5,000 years of rise and ruin. Dynasties sweeping across time like waves crashing against an endless shore. From the first symbols carved into cracked oracle bones to the shimmering rooftops of the Forbidden City. From warlords locked in eternal conflict to emperors whose visions reshaped continents. This is the story of ancient China, one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations, told in just 10 minutes. A story of power, philosophy, blood, brilliance, collapse, and rebirth. Let us begin. Our journey starts around 2070 BCE with legends whispered across millennia. They speak of Yu the Great, the man who battled catastrophic floods not with weapons, but with persistence and engineering genius. Ancient texts say the waters raged for years, drowning farms and villages. Yet Yu mapped the rivers, dug new channels, and redirected the currents until the land could breathe again. To honor him, the Shang Dynasty was born, China's first, a blend of myth and early memory. But history becomes tangible with the rise of the Shang Dynasty around 1600 BCE. Here, in the Yellow River Valley, a sophisticated society emerged. The Shang left behind the earliest Chinese written records, oracle bones. Priests carved questions into turtle shells and ox bones, questions about harvests, battles, royal births, then heated them until they cracked. The fractures were interpreted as divine answers, creating a direct link between human uncertainty and heavenly will. These characters became the foundation of modern Chinese writing. The Shang were not merely spiritual innovators. They mastered bronze metallurgy to a level unmatched in the ancient world. Their ritual vessels, decorated with dragons, beasts, and geometric patterns, reflected a deeply structured, ritualistic society. They built fortified cities, complex lineage systems, and ancestor worship traditions that shaped Chinese culture for thousands of years. With the Shang, the blueprint of Chinese civilization took form. In 1046 BCE, the Zhou rose against the Shang in a sweeping revolution. To justify their victory, they introduced one of the most powerful political ideas in human history, the Mandate of Heaven. It declared that emperors ruled not by sheer might, but by virtue. If they governed selfishly or cruelly, heaven revoked its mandate. Natural disasters, famine, and rebellion were signs that a dynasty had lost divine favor. This belief would guide Chinese politics for over 2,000 years. The Zhou ruled for nearly 8 centuries, but time eroded their unity. By 770 BCE, royal power weakened, and China fractured into competing kingdoms. This was the beginning of the Warring States period, 5 centuries of relentless conflict, shifting alliances, and ambitious warlords. Armies swelled into the hundreds of thousands. Iron tools and weapons replaced bronze. New strategies, formations, and siege tactics transformed warfare. Yet out of this chaos came intellectual brilliance. Confucius taught that order came from virtue, respect, and moral duty. Laozi urged harmony with the natural world through the Tao. Mozi argued for universal love and pragmatic governance. Sun Tzu analyzed conflict with surgical precision in the art of war. Even as battles raged, ideas flourished, shaping the ethical and philosophical foundations of East Asia forever. By 221 BCE, one state stood victorious, Qin. Its leader, Ying proclaimed himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China. He was determined to forge a single nation out of centuries of chaos. Under his command, roads were standardized, cart axle widths regulated, writing systems unified, and currency made consistent across the realm. These reforms bound the new empire together as tightly as iron bands around stone. But Qin Shi Huang ruled with an iron fist. Critics were silenced. Books deemed dangerous were burned. Scholars who opposed him were executed or buried alive. Massive construction projects consumed the labor of millions, including the early version of the Great Wall, built by linking and extending older defensive fortifications. And then there was his tomb. A vast underground world guarded by over 8,000 terracotta soldiers, each with unique faces, hair, armor, and weapons. An eternal army crafted to protect him in the afterlife. The Qin dynasty lasted only 15 turbulent years, collapsing under revolts and exhaustion. Yet the systems Qin created, centralized power, bureaucratic governance, imperial identity, became the model for every dynasty that followed. From the turmoil left by the Qin emerged the Han Dynasty in 206 BCE, ushering in one of the greatest eras in Chinese and world history. Under Emperor Wu, China expanded westward into Central Asia, securing the routes that would become the Silk Road. For the first time, China connected directly with civilizations as far as Rome. Silk, lacquerware, paper, and porcelain flowed west. Glassware, horses, gold, grapes, and new ideas flowed east. Paper, invented during the Han, revolutionized record-keeping, education, and government. Confucianism became the core ideology of the state, shaping law, family life, and social hierarchy. The imperial examination system began, allowing talented individuals, regardless of birth, to join the bureaucracy. This meritocratic principle would guide Chinese governance for centuries. The Han also excelled in astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and engineering. Their cultural influence became so dominant that even today, the ethnic majority of China identifies as Han Chinese, a testament to the dynasty's enduring legacy. But no golden age lasts forever. By the 3rd century, corruption, warlords, and peasant uprisings fractured the empire once more. With the fall of the Han in 220 CE, China entered one of its most romanticized eras, the Three Kingdoms. Wei, Shu, and Wu battled endlessly for supremacy, producing heroes celebrated in stories, operas, and the iconic novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Strategists like Zhu Zhiliang, generals like Guan Yu, and rival warlords became legends whose names still stir emotion today. Yet beyond the heroism, this was an age of hardship. For more than 4 centuries, China remained divided under various dynasties, tribes, and warlords. Still, it was a period of spiritual transformation. Buddhism, brought from India, spread rapidly. Carved into cliffsides like Longmen and Yonggang were towering Buddhas, serene guardians watching over a fractured land. In 581 CE, the Sui dynasty accomplished what many before them failed to do: reunify China. Their greatest achievement was the Grand Canal, a monumental waterway linking the fertile south with the political north. Stretching 1,100 miles, it is still the longest canal in the world. It enabled massive grain shipments, boosted trade, and strengthened national unity. But the Sui paid dearly for their ambition. Heavy taxes and forced labor ignited rebellions, and the dynasty collapsed after only 37 years. From the ruins of the Sui rose the Tang Dynasty in 618, often considered the pinnacle of Chinese civilization. Chang'an, the Tang capital, became the largest and most cosmopolitan city on earth, a metropolis of poets, merchants, monks, diplomats, and travelers from across Asia, the Middle East, and even Africa. Tang culture flourished in ways still felt today. Li Bai wrote poems of wine, moonlight, and fleeting beauty. Du Fu captured the suffering of war and the fragility of life. Their verses, written over 1,000 years ago, remain memorized by millions. China's only female emperor, Wu Zetian, ruled during this era, a testament to the dynasty's political dynamism. The Tang welcomed new religions, technologies, and ideas through the Silk Road. But prosperity could not shield the empire from internal strain. In 755, the Lushan Rebellion erupted, one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Tens of millions perished. Although the Tang survived the rebellion, it never truly recovered. By 907, the dynasty fell, and China splintered once again. Despite fragmentation, China reunited once more under the Song dynasty in 960. Unlike previous dynasties, the Song emphasized economic and technological growth over military conquest. The result was a breathtaking wave of innovation. Gunpowder transformed warfare. The magnetic compass revolutionized navigation. Movable type printing accelerated learning. Paper money reshaped commerce. Song cities like Kaifeng and Hangzhou became vibrant urban hubs teeming with markets, theaters, restaurants, and artisans. Landscapes painted during this era, misty mountains, lone scholars, moonlit bridges, still define classical Chinese aesthetics. Neo-Confucianism reshaped philosophy by blending Confucian ethics with ideas from Buddhism and Taoism. Yet the Song faced relentless pressure from nomadic powers to the north. After centuries of conflict, the Mongol Empire, under Kublai Khan, conquered the dynasty in 1279. For the first time, all of China came under foreign rule. In 1368, rebellion swept across China. At its heart was Zhu Yuanzhang, a former beggar and monk whose life had been shaped by famine and war. Against all odds, he overthrew the Mongols and founded the Ming Dynasty. Under his rule, China restored its identity, rebuilt its economy, and strengthened its borders. The Ming constructed the Forbidden City, an enormous palace complex of nearly 1,000 buildings, radiating imperial power through red walls and golden roofs. Under the Yongle Emperor, China launched the greatest maritime expeditions in its history. Admiral Zheng He, commanding fleets with ships far larger than those of Europe, sailed 7 voyages reaching Southeast Asia, India, Arabia, and East Africa. His expeditions projected Chinese influence across half the world, decades before Portuguese or Spanish explorers arrived in Asia. But after Zheng He's voyages, the Ming turned inward. Court factions feared foreign influence. Budgets tightened. Shipyards closed. Corruption grew, rebellions spread, and Manchu forces invaded from the north. In 1644, the Ming Dynasty fell, ending one of China's most iconic eras. The Qing Dynasty, founded by the Manchus, ruled from 1644 to 1912, China's final imperial dynasty. Under emperors like Qin Shi and Huang, the empire reached its greatest territorial extent, stretching deep into Central Asia, Mongolia, Tibet, and Xinjiang. Art, literature, and culture flourished, but new challenges emerged. By the 1800s, Western powers forced their way into China, exploiting technological gaps. The Opium Wars devastated the nation. The Taiping Rebellion, one of the deadliest civil wars in world history, tore provinces apart. Attempts at reform came too late. Finally, in 1912, the last emperor, a child named Puai, abdicated. 2,000 years of imperial rule came to an end. Yet Chinese civilization endured. Its ideas, inventions, philosophies, and dynasties continue to shape the modern world. Ancient China lives on, not only in ruins and artifacts but in language, culture, and memory. From the first cracked oracle bones to the fall of the last emperor, from the Great Wall to the Silk Road, from bronze rituals to paper money to oceans crossed by mighty treasure ships, 5,000 years have passed, yet the spirit of China remains. This was the entire history of ancient China in 10 minutes. Where shall we travel next? Let us know in the comments.